Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the AM Report for HAPS News, the network of now. I'm Alex Mahajer. I'm your host. And today it is Wednesday, November 25th. It is the day before Thanksgiving, and we've got a lot of headlines to cover this morning. We're going to talk about Joe Biden's first interview since he was elected president. We're going to talk about his cabinet picks. We're going to talk about what's going on around the country with this coronavirus vaccine, which we should be getting the first doses here in mid-December. All of this and more on the AM Report. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the program, and thank you for joining the AM Report for HAPS News, the network of now. I'm Alex Mahajer, and this morning we're talking about the coronavirus vaccine. We're talking about Joe Biden's first post-election interview with NBC's Lester Holt last night, as well as some more of Donald Trump's shenanigans, although it appears that the transition has officially begun. So let's get into today's top headlines. First, Pfizer has announced that their vaccine, 6.4 million doses of it, will be distributed to the states in mid-December, depending on whether they can get FDA approval, with about 40 million doses by the end of the year. And we're expecting by the second quarter of next year that the vaccine will be widely available for Americans across the country. We'll get into a little bit more about that in just a few moments. Joe Biden has become the first presidential candidate in American history to earn more than 80 million votes. He's broken all the records when it comes to the vote totals, and there's still votes being counted, and this is due in part to mail-in voting. So a lot of light has been shown on the access to voting and what it does to voter turnout. So creating more access creates more turnout in America. So a number of states have certified their election results, including Pennsylvania and Nevada, which completed their certifications yesterday, and Michigan certified their results on Monday. So this thing is over. Following news that Biden would be officially, that the transition would begin, the Dow Jones soared past 30,000 on Wednesday for the first time in U.S. history. Of course, the Trump administration would love to take credit for that, but it's because of the end of the Trump chaos and the instability that happened under the Trump presidency that happened, because stocks soared globally upon the news that the Biden transition would officially begin when the GSA administrator, Emily Murphy, finally signed off on Monday. And I'll note that was because it became clear that there were no avenues by which the Trump administration could pressure state legislators to overturn the outcome in terms of the will of the people. And finally, it looks like, yes, the Dow Jones. We already went over that. So, also, it looks like in Trump news, while we're talking about Trump, that sources are saying that he plans to pardon Michael Flynn, who is his disgraced former national security advisor. He was indicted and jailed for lying to the FBI. And Trump is joining Giuliani at a Republican state lawmakers' quote hearing on baseless allegations of voter fraud today in Pennsylvania. And that is sort of odd because Pennsylvania voted to certify the election yesterday. So a little more stagecraft from the president on his way out. He has refused to concede formally. He won't say the words. He keeps tweeting, I concede nothing, and other sort of blustering bravado out of the president in terms of what he's saying publicly. But the transition has begun. And Joe Biden has given his first interview, his first post-election interview to NBC's Lester Holt. And I want to play a couple minutes of that. But if you are watching this on the HAPS platform or the HAPS apps website and you're enjoying the broadcast, you can give us an award midstream. Let us know you're enjoying it. We greatly appreciate it. Or if you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Reddit, Periscope, wherever you might be watching this, leave us a comment and let us know what you're thinking. We can bat around with you live on air. For instance, let's see. First comment I'm just seeing right here is banned Bobo. He's about to pardon everyone and declassify everything. Yeah, it does appear that Donald Trump is on a warpath, and he's possibly going to take a lot of damaging actions. People are very cautious about what Trump might do to destabilize the economy, to destabilize us abroad in terms of our presence internationally, so that Joe Biden inherits sort of a mess. We also are concerned, frankly, that he may take actions on the global stage that further strengthen Russia's position on the global stage. We know that he's done this during his presidency, and probably plans to do it in his lame duck session to make sure that on his way out he strengthens Russia's position on the globe, including by destabilizing the United Nations. And we'll see what else he does. Thank you, Adam Cobb, for the Super Clap Award, and Pablo de la Hoya for the Appreciate You Award. And another comment from our very loyal viewer, Daniel Goff. They are meeting at the landscaping, the Four Seasons landscaping. Yeah, we now know that with manure-based mulch. Yeah, famously, Rudy Giuliani intended to have a press conference last week, I think it was, at the Four Seasons. It ended up being at a landscaping company across the street from a porno shop. Thank you, Mark Goldman, for the Super Clap Award. And Bobo says, you do realize Trump won. I don't realize Trump won, and neither do any of the states that certified the election on behalf of Joe Biden. No, I don't. And Joe Biden won 80 million votes and won the popular vote and the Electoral College by what is appearing to be in the popular vote a landslide, more votes than any other presidential candidate in history. He's going to top 80 million and possibly even more. And the Electoral College is a 306 Electoral College victory for Joe Biden, which by Donald Trump's standards is a landslide victory, because that's the amount of Electoral College votes he received in 2016. Adam Cobb very rightfully says, what at you, Bobo, with the W-U-T spelling, the appropriate spelling of what? Let's see, landslide. Yes, it's, you know, it's not, if we're going to separate ourselves from Trump's definition of things, it's not a landslide in terms of the outcome of the election, but it is decisive. It is commanding, and Joe Biden's popular vote victory is extremely decisive. And so yeah, it's a Joe Biden victory, and I think even Donald Trump privately acknowledging it, he did authorize the transition to begin. So that's kind of what's going on. Bobo would like me to sit down, but I'm very comfortable standing while I speak. So I'm just going to keep standing, if that's okay with you. So let's see. We've got this news of the first interview that Joe Biden did with NBC News' Lester Holt. It's a good interview. I want to play a couple minutes of that for you guys so you can see what Joe Biden has to say about his cabinet picks, as well as the transition officially beginning.
The team meets this moment. This team behind me.
You announced some key members of your cabinet today, a very experienced group, a very diverse group. Clearly, you're trying to send a message. Can you articulate what that message is?
America's back. We're at the head of the table once again. I've spoken with over 20 world leaders, and they all are literally really pleased and somewhat excited. America's going to reassert its role in the world and be a coalition builder.
This lineup, those you've selected so far, a lot of familiar faces among them. What do you say to those who are wondering if you're trying to create a third Obama term?
This is not a third Obama term, because we face a totally different world than we faced in the Obama-Biden administration. President Trump has changed the landscape. It's become America first, which meant America alone. We find ourselves in a position where our alliances are being frayed. It's a totally different. That's why I found people who joined the administration in key points that represent the spectrum of the American people, as well as the spectrum of the Democratic Party.
Have you considered, for the sake of national unity, selecting or nominating a Republican, someone who voted for President Trump?
Yes, and we still have a lot more appointments to make. I want this country to be united. The purpose of our administration is, once again, united. We can't keep this virulent political dialogue going. It has to end.
Should we expect an announcement?
No.
Not ever or not soon?
No, not soon.
Okay. What about former rivals from your own party, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren? Have you talked to them about cabinet positions?
Well, I've talked to them. Look, as I said, we already have significant representation among progressives in our administration, but there's nothing really off the table. But one thing is really critical. Taking someone out of the Senate, taking someone out of the House, particularly a person of consequence, is a really difficult decision that would have to be made. I have a very ambitious, very progressive agenda, and it's going to take really strong leaders in the House and Senate to get it done.
The head of the GSA yesterday unlocked the mechanisms for there to be a formal transition of power, recognizing your status right now. Is that happening on the ground? Are there people talking right now who weren't talking yesterday?
Yes. Immediately, we've gotten outreach from the national security shop, from just across the board. And they're already working out my ability to get presidential daily briefs. We're already working out, meeting with the COVID team in the White House and how to not only distribute, but get from a vaccine being distributed to being a person able to get vaccinated. So I think we're going to not be so far behind the curve as we thought we might be in the past. And there's a lot of immediate discussion, and I must say, the outreach has been sincere. It's not been begrudging so far, and I don't expect it to be. So yes, it's already begun.
A couple really important points to note from that interview. First is that he's saying that the Trump administration and that the officials that are working with him to give him security briefings, to make funds available to him, to give him updates on where their respective cabinet positions cabinets are, where they're at. That's all happening without any begrudgingness or ill will from members of the Trump administration. So it's happening seamlessly. Also, that he intends to build a cabinet that may include a Republican, that he's open to doing that for the sake of the country's unity. And in terms of these picks that we've gotten so far, some of the notable ones: Janet Yellen as Treasury Secretary. She is the first woman to be in that. She will be the first woman to be in that role. She is a former federal chair of the Federal Reserve. And Anthony Blinken, Secretary of State. He's a former Deputy Secretary of State under Obama, very experienced. John Kerry will be the special envoy on the climate. He is, of course, the former Secretary of State himself under Obama, Obama's second term. He succeeded Hillary Clinton, and he is responsible for the Paris climate deal, which the Trump administration is the Biden administration is clearly projecting will be a focal point of their administration, is climate. And Alejandro Mayorkas for the Department of Homeland Security will be the first Latin American and the first immigrant to serve at the top of DHS, which we know for years there's been a lot of anti-ICE sentiment. And so having someone in that role who is really the first immigrant to serve in that role is symbolically very important, and also may be very important in terms of policy. There was a lot of worry and hemming and hawing about whether progressives would be alienated by these choices. So far, they don't seem to be. I know Elizabeth Warren is someone we look to as sort of a standard bearer for the progressive movement. And she has praised the selection of Janet Yellen to the Treasury. So all in all, it's looking like the cabinet is taking shape, and there are still many posts that need to be filled. There's agriculture, commerce, defense, education, energy, health and human services, housing, homeland security, housing and urban development, the Interior Justice Department, which I am very interested in learning who the pick will be, the labor, state, Transportation, Treasury, and Veterans Affairs. So these picks will continue to come in the coming days, and we'll get a better idea of what this future administration will look like. But the real takeaway is that these choices are not splashy choices. Joe Biden is not casting a TV show or reality show the way that Donald Trump did 4 years ago. He's picking people who are experienced, who can hit the ground running, and who can do the work of sort of building back from some of the damage that's been done to our institutions over the last 4 years by the sort of irresponsibility and the unqualified nature of sort of some of Donald Trump's picks. So we'll continue to watch that. What do you guys think about these cabinet picks? Leave me a comment, let me know, or give us an award during the stream. Let us know you're enjoying it. Finally, this COVID-19 vaccine. Look, it's Thanksgiving tomorrow. The coronavirus in the United States is raging. It's out of control. People are getting infected at exponentially higher numbers. The death toll is rising. Infections are rising. Public health officials are asking us to not congregate on Thanksgiving. So please be safe. This COVID-19 vaccine, it's starting to come in mid-December. Pfizer has announced that once they get FDA approval, 6.4 million doses will be available to Americans by mid-December. Officials believe that, Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar says that they believe 40 million vaccine doses will be ready by the end of the year. Moderna is getting ready to announce their distribution strategy, and vaccines will be available for the general population in the second quarter of next year. What we're hearing is that the prioritization will be for healthcare workers, people living in nursing homes, and other vulnerable communities will be first in line. So stay safe, everyone. We've only got a little bit left to go before we can start inoculating people from this virus and stopping the spread. So I want to thank you all for joining the AM Report this morning. I'm Alex Mahajer. We are live every weekday morning at 7:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Eastern, with all of your quick political news and headlines to get your day started right. If you like this journalism, if you like this content, please consider sponsoring it or subscribing or buying me a cup of coffee. You can do that at haps.tv/@Alex, or leave us an award live on air, or just tune in on social media or wherever you watch the show. Every weekday morning, 7:30. We'll be back tomorrow for a little Thanksgiving edition of the AM Report. Appreciate you, and we will see you all tomorrow.